Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending tonight's meeting of the Berkeley County Board of Education, Tuesday, March 24th, 2015. I call the meeting to order. I declare that a quorum is present and that the media has been notified. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda as well as a second?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Walford has made a motion to approve tonight's agenda. That motion has been seconded by Mr. McQuillan. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 6-0. Tonight's agenda has been approved. If you would please join us for tonight's opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll now move to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 10th, 2015. Do I have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of March 10th?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McQuillan.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Walford. We have a motion from Mr. McQuillan, a second from Ms. Walford to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 10th, 2015. All those in favor of approving tonight the minutes of March 10th, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. The minutes of the regular meeting of March 10th have been approved. Now we'll move to agenda item number 5, entitled Approval of the February 2015 Head Start Budget Expenditures Report. Do I have a motion and a second regarding agenda item 5?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the February 2015 Head Start information as presented in agenda item 5. Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Mrs. Walford, seconded by Mrs. Lee, to approve the February 2015 Head Start information as presented in agenda item 5. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously, 6-0. The February 2015 Head Start information has been approved. Now it's time to celebrate many of our employees here in Berkeley County, as well as some very valuable volunteers. Next up, Miss Amy Murray. Amy Murray, if you would please provide us with our legacy builders and our special recognition for this evening. Miss Murray, the podium's yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Thompson, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and all of you who have joined us tonight. We have a few people we'd like to recognize, and the first is Dr. Charlene Zahner of Hanahan High School. Dr. Zahner was named South Carolina's School Librarian of the Year by the South Carolina Association of School Librarians. The award honors full-time librarians for their exemplary library programs, as well as their active participation and service to the South Carolina Association of School Librarians and other related professional organizations. Now, exemplary library programs integrate collaboration, leadership and technology, and qualities of exemplary programs include outstanding and effective support of student learning through well-rounded, innovative, and comprehensive program administration, effective collaborative partnerships with teachers in both teaching and learning, as well as information access. Dr. Zahner regularly collaborates with teachers at Hanahan High. One of the projects she's worked on is Literary Criticism, Join the Conversation. The project is an ongoing collaboration between Dr. Zahner and Honors English 3 teachers. They created an introduction to integrating literary criticism into the writing process. Another example of Dr. Zahner collaborating is her work with English 2 teachers to introduce the topic of book burning and censorship. With teachers, she created a presentation for students that taught them about censorship, First Amendment rights, book banning, and book burning as part of their introduction to the book Fahrenheit 451. Dr. Zahner also assisted faculty by serving as team leader for Hanahan High's one-to-one computer initiative, which educated faculty about new technologies that can make instruction more successful. Aside from assisting her colleagues and creating extremely effective programs that positively impact students, Dr. Zahner stays busy with professional organizations. She has been the South Carolina Association of School Librarians Secretary, the past president of the Berkeley County Association of School Librarians. She's the South Carolina Association of School Librarians Information Technology Committee member, and she's on the South Carolina Association of School Librarians Public Awareness Committee. She's a member of the District Library Advisory Board and an internship supervisor for library science students at USC. And she's the District Library Procedure Manual Committee Chair. At this time, Dr. Zahner, would you please come forward to receive your certificate and be recognized?
I am truly honored and humbled to have been selected as the South Carolina School Librarian of the Year. I've been privileged to work with supportive administrators and staff. I've grown professionally through my collaborations with other BCSD exemplary school librarians. I accept this recognition on behalf of all school librarians statewide, striving to promote a lifelong love of learning and reading and to optimize instruction for all of our students on a daily basis. Thank you.
Congratulations, Doc. Got your principal coming right here. He's being part of this. Mr. Redbrook?
Thank you, Dr. Murray. Good to see you, buddy. That's a rose between 3 thorns.
Congratulations, Dr. Zahner.
The next person we'd like to recognize is Principal Ingrid Dukes of College Park Middle School. For just a moment, I want everybody to think about the number of K-12 schools in South Carolina. That's a lot of schools, right? Now I'd like you to think about the number of middle schools in South Carolina. Still quite a few. Principal Dukes was elected by the Superintendent of Education, Molly Spearman, to participate in the new Principal Advisory Council. So out of all of the schools and all of the middle schools, she was handpicked to participate in this council. Just a little bit about the council. It's made up of 14 administrators from across the state with the purpose of providing feedback to Superintendent Spearman about their schools, communities, and hot-button topics. Principals will also provide suggestions to Superintendent Spearman about how everyone can work together to improve South Carolina's public education system. Aside from the Principal Advisory Council, Principal Dukes works on various local and statewide committees, such as the Charleston Southern University's Teacher Fellow Advisory Committee, the Citadel's National Council for Accreditation of Teacher Education Advisory Committee, and Berkeley County Strategic Planning Committee. She's currently the president of the Berkeley County Association of School Administrators, the South Carolina Association of School Administrators Middle Level Executive Committee District 1 representative, and she was selected as secretary of the SCASA Middle Level Executive Committee. In 2008, Ms. Dukes was selected as the Council for Exceptional Children State Administrator of the Year, and in 2010, she was chosen as the Berkeley County Middle Level Principal of the Year. She was also named the South Carolina Association of School Administrators State Middle Level Principal of the Year for 2011. We are so very proud to have you represent us on this new council, and we're excited to witness and feel the impact that you and the council will have on education in South Carolina. So now, if you would, Principal Dukes, please come forward to receive this certificate and be recognized.
words. A few words, 30 seconds. I'm incredibly humbled to be selected to be on this principal advisory with Superintendent Spearman. I will tell you that never in my 28 years in public education, yes, you heard 28, Ms. Archambault, have I ever had the opportunity to sit in a room with the state superintendent and actually talk about policy and how it's impacting schools. When we met for the first time, our inaugural meeting, the first question Superintendent Spearman said to us is, she said, "Tell me what we're doing that's getting in your way." A collective gasp in the room from all those principals who went, somebody really just asked us that question. So it seems really small probably to have that question asked, but it's huge in the eyes of public educators. And I will tell you that for the first time in many, many years, I feel extremely hopeful about the state's direction and positive feelings and support for public education in South Carolina, largely due to Ms. Spearman and her support for public schools. So I'm thrilled to get the opportunity, and I will do my best to represent middle schools and all schools in South Carolina. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, 83. Yeah.
Our last recognition for the night is an awesome organization made up of dedicated and selfless men. The Dad's Club that serves the J.K. Gordine Elementary School community is one of a kind. The club is made up of 9 men: Mr. Lewis Mayrant, Mr. Sheldon Jenkins, Sergeant Samuel Middleton, Mr. James Wilson, Mr. James Jenkins, Mr. Benjamin Bryant, Reverend Ronald Casey, and Mr. John Mustafer, and Mr. Henry Griffin. They volunteer at the school as class monitors, lunch buddies, and cafeteria monitors. They've even established a boys' club made up of 5th grade boys, and they teach them how to be gentlemen. Currently, they're working on the art of tying ties. The Dad's Club built a gazebo at the school, and they work in the garden there as well. Not only do the members of the club donate their time, but they also donate their resources. They've donated money so that the 5th grade students could go on field trips. Their donations allowed the 5th graders to go to Adventure Children's Museum in Columbia 2 years in a row. This year, the 5th graders are going to visit the State House. The club also sponsors Field Day because they want to extend their support to more than just the 5th grade students. Finally, the Dad's Club hosts an annual honoree banquet. Members of the club publicize the event throughout the community and sell ads to be placed in the event's programs. This year's honoree banquet will be this Saturday, March 28th, beginning at 5 p.m. at J.K. Gordine Elementary School. The money received from the ads will go to the school for new playground equipment. Basically, whatever the school needs, these gentlemen make sure it happens. For all the things that you do and how you're making an impact on the students and the faculty, staff, and community at J.K. Gordine, and for everything else that you do, we like to honor you today. We appreciate everything you're doing, and your tireless work in the community has not gone unnoticed. So at this time, would you please come forward to receive this certificate and be recognized for all the things you do.
Oh my goodness. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so happy to be here with you today, and we thank you for taking time out to honor us. This is the Dad's Club. In every home, there should be a dad. Of course, sometimes there's not dads, so that's why we saw a need to form this club, because we realized that it's not only about us, but it's about our young kids. They must be educated. Very soon, they're going to take our places. They're going to be the teachers, the preachers, the lawyers, the doctors, and whatsoever. So we see a need for that. These young men have volunteered. And they're not looking for any accolades. They're not looking for any rewards, but they just volunteer their time. They're good men, hard to find. We thank you again. Pray for us that we'll be able to hold out until the end. Thank you.
You good?
Yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In just a moment, Dr. Murray will give our guest an opportunity to leave, but I would just like to, from the superintendent and the district administration, once again thank all of our honorees tonight. But when I saw the J.K. Gradon Dads Club, I knew it existed. But last month when I was touring the school with the principal, I saw your picture on the wall. And I took a photograph and I put it back in my notes to the principal, and Ms. Bradley showed me some of the things that you were doing for the kids firsthand. So I just want to tell you, thank you. You truly are making a difference in that community for what you're doing for our young people.
Well said, well said. Ms. Moore, I'd like to give you the opportunity to address the Dads Club from
Yes.
JK.
Yes, I want them to know that I'm very proud of them. So many times the ladies take over, but you step up to the plate. and we need you. The young people need you very, very badly. So we appreciate you doing this, and we want to continue to do well and work with the children. And also under the leadership of Miss Bradley. A beautiful job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Ms. Moore. And I would like to echo those comments as well. First of all, recognizing Dr. Charlene Zahner. It seems more often than not an employee is being brought before us for being the state employee of the award for the state employee for whatever particular position they hold, whether it be middle school, high school principal, media specialist, etc. So congratulations to Dr. Zahner. I've had an opportunity to work with her in her library, and I will be back next year, Ms. Zahner, because the baby will be a freshman. Mr. Raycroft, I hope you'll be prepared, sir. He is more like me than the previous two. Ingrid Dukes, class of 1983, we've come a long way, baby. But we're not getting old. Now, you gave a shout out to one of our Legacy Award winners, Miss Archambault, and you spoke to her about being in education for 28 years.
Because she never taught me.
She did, well, when I saw her earlier, Ingrid, the first thing I said was, Miss Archambault, I apologize for misbehaving. Do you forgive me? To the Dads Club, everybody needs a dad. You said it perfectly, and thank you so much for filling that role. If I can remember the country music song, I think I've got it right, but Daddy's hands weren't always gentle, but I learned to understand that there was always love in Daddy's hands. So thank you. Well done. Well done. Well done. All right, Miss Murray, do we have some more recognition this evening?
Oh, no, sir, that was it. But
Well, hey, that's enough. That's
I just wanted to remind everybody to pick up a copy of Legacy Builders. And then, like I said, that concludes our special recognitions. But there are so many great stories in the Legacy Builders publication. In this particular one, there are stories about Quest and how our students participated in Quest, and then also principal of Berkeley High School, Stephen Steele, won the National Speech and Debate Association's Principal of the Year Award for the state of South Carolina. So when you get a chance, please pick up a copy and take a look. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Miss Murray. We appreciate you. And once again, thank you to all of our folks who were recognized this evening. As is past practice, if any of our visitors would like to take this opportunity to exit, to get home to their families, we'll give you the opportunity to do that at this time. But once again, thank you for being with us. Way to go, dads. All right. Way to go, guys. J.K. Gordine is a lucky place. Excellent. As our guests are exiting, we'll go ahead and get ready for citizen comments this evening. We only have one comment tonight, and that is from Mr. Ronald Nelson. So, Mr. Nelson, if you'll approach the podium, I'll do what I have to do and read the citizen comment procedures. All right. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And finally, the board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to these guidelines. Thank you so much for your patience, Mr. Nelson, allowing me to read those. Tonight, Mr. Nelson would like to give a few words of thanks for the BWP and Associates as well as the Berkeley County School Board. That's a pleasure to read that, Mr. Nelson. Thank you. Thank you for being with us this evening. The podium is yours, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, board members and guests. If I were the chairman, was able to stop you of letting those gentlemen exit.
Oh, I apologize.
But at this time, following such a dynamic recognition on the legacy builders, and of course, you know that we have to register prior to the meeting, so none of this was orchestrated prior to what I'm about to do here. First of all, I must give Miss Amy Murray a word of thanks for on January 28th, she was there assisting PW and P and Associate on the presentation on the community, or should I say public forum of questioning and answering for selecting a superintendent. He did a very outstanding job, and it was very enlightening to see that such a professional group in place to in search for our next superintendent. Saying that to say this, as I look around the audience, I can only remember I've only recognized 5 new faces in here, or should I say 5 old faces from 2006. And those 5 will probably remember a comment of 2006 that I made in a presentation that I gave right here. And the presentation was, one day I would like to see Berkeley County School Board be #1 in the state. How many of you remember that?
I do.
And I must say, thanks to Dr. Thompson, I believe we are on the way. Thanks to that previous bond referendum that passed, although we are hearing a lot of negative publicity around that. As I look around, visit the schools, we are being equitable. And that was one of the hot topics of 2006, if those of you remember. And as, of course, we know it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy road. You're looking for some challenge. You'll invite some challenge. Sometimes the challenge will make you sharpen up your belt to be able to look around, see what can you do to improve. But I must say to the Berkeley County School Board, I believe we are on track. Following after, now here I am. What a coincidence. I'm following Dr. Charlene, Miss Dukes, and the men's of J.K. Gordine. It all fall right into place. It fell right into place. So it's just a matter of us keeping our shoulders to the wheel and keep our focus on the students for tomorrow, because we know that I would definitely like to see Berkeley County School District be #1 in the state. And I believe we are on track. And I would like to say again, thank you, board members, to continue being focused, being diligent to what is happening around us, because there's a lot can be done, there's a lot has been done, and a lot in the future looking bright. Thank you.
Well said, Mr. Nelson. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Nelson, we always appreciate hearing from you, and you certainly have been with us a long time, and we're going to continue to improve. Thank you so much for your comments. All right, now we have the opportunity, Mr. Nelson, what a great segue, because we're now going to hear from BWP and Associates. So with that said, I will defer to my colleague, Mr. Jim Hayes. Mr. Hayes, if you would, on behalf of the committee, if you would introduce BWP and Associates.
Gladly. We have with us this evening one of the members of our BW and Associates team who is going to update us as to where we are in the process at this time. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Mary Blaskowitz, and she will, at this time, give us an update.
Welcome, Dr. Blaskowitz. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Boy, this has been great, just being here and seeing all this wonderful stuff that's going on in your district. And I needed my Kleenex there. It was really touching and very, very impressive for what's going on here. So thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Nelson, for your comment, too. And we certainly want to fulfill all of those wishes and help you fulfill that mission. Mr. Chairman and board members, tonight I bring you greetings from your BWP search team. Dr. Simons and Dr. Stuckey send their very best to you. And I bet as I speak, they are at home on the computer researching candidates. I can guarantee it. Tonight, I just want to give you a brief update for where we are in the search process, and then review with you the results of the online survey that you posted on your website. Since we were with you last time, we have implemented the advertising plan that you approved, and we, of course, advertised in the professional outlets. Education Week, of course, we had the print ad in February, and then we had 60 days online, and it will run through April the 3rd, which is your deadline. We also advertised in AASA, and that's the American Association of School Administrators, for 60 days, and it too will run through April 3rd. Also, we advertised in ASCD, which is the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development, and they ran an online ad for 4 weeks on your behalf. And then, of course, we also advertised in the South Carolina Administrators Association, the SCASA website, and that ad ran for 30 days. In addition to running those ads, we have contacted those mentioned to us during the community engagement process, and we have also contacted others to tell them about the position and how to apply. So the recruiting efforts have been ongoing. And I'm proud to report that those efforts have resulted in a very healthy pool of candidates. And we will add more, I'm sure, as we move toward the April 3rd deadline. We're pleased with the quality of many of the candidates in the pool, and we're diligently working to screen each applicant who applies and find those who best meet your leadership profile. Our goal is still to bring you a slate in mid-April of those that we believe are the best of the best. And of course, the final decision as far as who you interview from your pool is yours, but we will help tell you what we know about any of the candidates in your pool, what we have learned about them. We're currently reviewing candidate materials, and you know there's a pretty extensive application process that they have to go through, and we're currently reviewing their materials and evaluating their references, and we're doing phone interviews, as well as Google searches on the most promising candidates. So that's where we're in the midst of all of that research at this time. And we will continue to assess all candidates who apply by April the 3rd and go through that process. We really don't want to mention any specific numbers right now because the search is still very much open for another week and a half, and so we don't want to discourage anybody from applying. I will say, however, again, that we are excited about a number of the candidates who have applied and or who have applied or have started applications for your position. We're looking forward to bringing you that recommended slate on April the 15th and sharing with you the specific information that we have found about the candidates and also specific information on your pool, the final number, how many held this position, how many held that position, where they came from. All of that information will be shared with you on April 15th when we meet. We're using your leadership profile. If you'll remember, that was written from the community engagement activities and the interviews with the board. And so we're using that leadership profile to help us assess candidates, as we will encourage you to do during the process as well. And tonight, there's what I want to share with you are the results of your your survey that you published as a result of our community engagement activities here. And you have a bright green. I tried to match your district colors, but I'm not sure I hit it exactly right. But you should have something in your folder. And we will leave some copies of this for the public over there too when I leave. But I'd like to share you the results of the search survey. If you'll see the survey, the purpose of it, of course, was to give everybody an opportunity to participate in some way in the search. And many people came to, of course, the community engagement activities, and this was a follow-up activity for whoever wanted to participate. The survey was open from January 26th through March 15th. And I want to express appreciation to the communications department here and Amy Murray for helping advertise it and help get it up, and all the folks here who assisted us in getting it up online. I want to express appreciation to them. You had a total of 735 respondents. Now, of course, you always want more. You always want more. But if you think about it, if you held a meeting or a forum and 735 people came and you were able to get some feedback from 735 people, that's a pretty good meeting. So that's the way we're looking at this. It's a big meeting, okay? And you can see on your sheets that I gave you who the survey participants were. There was a question on the survey where you could check all that applied to you, if you were a teacher, if you were an employee or a non-employee, if you were a parent, and so forth. And so you can see the breakout on the sheet. We had 336 employees who took the survey, 336, and 195 non-employees. You had 422 parents of current students, and 157 parents of former students. And then you can see the breakdown for the other groups, the students, the non-child household, volunteers, retirees, and political office holders. Now, if you add that column up, I want to note that's not going to be 735 because some of those people had checked more than one box, like they were an employee, they were a parent, so wanted to clarify that. If you look at a breakdown of your employees who answered the survey, we had 222 teachers, 36 administrators, 67 support staff, and 24 other, who could have been other job descriptions that didn't fit. So those are the folks who took your survey. Now, your report sheet has 2 pages, and the first page covers the overall results of the survey. In other words, for all 735 participants who attended the meeting. Okay. The second page breaks down 3 groups. We filtered out these 3 groups and got the responses of employees, parents, and non-employees, feeling like those were the 3 critical groups that you would want to analyze their thoughts. So if we'll go back to the front page, you'll see the section under the top 3 choices in the areas indicated under that section. Each question had, of course, a menu of choices, and what you have printed here are the top 3 choices chosen by the highest percentage of respondents. So if they answered, what characteristics do you desire in the next superintendent? These are the top 3 choices. The most people chose these 3. And of course, you can see there, number 1 was integrity. Number 2, commitment to the community. And number 3, good judgment. So those were all the qualities that the 735 of that group chose. Under the skills desired, what were the skills desired? Number 1, communication skills. Communication, and we heard that too during our community engagement. Managerial skills and interpersonal skills. Those were the top 3. We also wanted to find out a little bit about the perception of your district. How was your district perceived? What were the strengths, and then what were the issues? The strengths of the district, number 1, loud and clear, 70%, said, and I believe it tonight after what I've seen, excellent teachers and staff, number 1. Number 2, good school facilities. Good school facilities. And number 3, believe it after tonight too, supportive community, a supportive community. So that's a very positive reception of the district from those that took the survey. And then the issues facing the district. Okay, those are great, but what are you having to deal with now? What are the issues of the districts? And number 1 was growth. And of course, from what we understood, that would be very accurate. Growth, its challenges, the good things and the challenges of growth. Number 2, curriculum. Number 2, curriculum, as far as issues facing the district. And I think probably facing the state would be true now. So that's understandable. And then number 3 was funding, also facing schools across the state. So those were the top 3 choices in those areas overall. The next session, there was a menu where your respondents had to choose whether something was not important, important, or extremely important. And there are a list of experiences there in your next superintendent. Now, the truth of the matter is all of them are important. You know, if you look at the list, they're all important. But in analyzing this, what we look at is we look at which ones had the highest ratings as far as extremely important. Because you know, when you do a survey too, extremely important usually has a little passion behind it. So that's what we look at here. And of course, as I said, they're all important. But what we did is we took in that category of extremely important, anything that was where 50% or more of folks said this is extremely important. We highlighted that so you could see what those items were. And extremely important, experienced superintendent with a proven record of success was extremely important to 53%. Experience as a principal, and look at that, experience as a teacher had the highest rating, 67%. Experience as a teacher. Experience as a principal was 55%. And then next highest to experience as a teacher was experience in instruction. Experience in instruction, 59%. And then experience in strategic planning was important. And like I said, they're all important, but people were sort of passionate. More people were passionate about those things being possible qualifications. If you look at the next page, what we did, as I said, is we took everything that, we took the whole group, and we filtered out these 3 groups: employees, parents, and non-employees. And here's what we learned. On the characteristics desired, if you'll look, all of them were in agreement. Every single group, and they were all in agreement with the overall results. So these three things are important to everybody, okay? And that's integrity, commitment to community, and good judgment. Ranked number 1, 2, 3 with employees, parents, and non-employees. And non-employees we're considering as community, you know, people who are not part of the school district. Under skills desired, there was number 1 for every group was communication. If you look at that, number 1 for every group was communication. And then employees had one thing that was slightly different there. Number 2 for employees was interpersonal skills. And as a former employee, I certainly understand that too. You know, you want your boss to have those types of skills as well. And then number 3, managerial. And you can see with the parents and the non-employees, organizational skills and managerial skills were very important to those groups. Under experiences desired, look at number 1 in every group. Experience as a teacher, experience as a teacher, experience as a teacher. Everyone in every group. And then the other choices differed slightly among the groups, but basically the topics were, they may have been 2 here and number 4 here, but you'll see experience in instruction, experience as a principal, and experience as a superintendent with proven success. You can see the variation there. Under strengths of the district, you can see that across the board, the number 1 response was what we had said earlier, with 70% of the people. Strengths of the district, excellent teachers and staff. And then good school facilities came in again as one of the top 3 in every group. And then employees said the third thing that was important to them were educational options and programs that you offer within your district. So that was number 3 for the employees. And then parents and non-employees said supportive community and good school facilities. They both ranked those as in their top 3. And then finally, as issues facing the district, you will see that growth was number 1 for all. Funding was number 2 for employees, while curriculum and educational programs and options were number 2 and 3 for parents and non-employees. So, what can you do with all this information? Okay, as you're interviewing your candidates, you will want to look at these traits, characteristics, and experiences most desired by those who responded to the survey. And hopefully this information and your leadership profile will help guide you through the selection process. And if you go back and if you look at your leadership profile, I think that you will see that these two share a lot of similarities. If you'll remember, the 4 major topics for your leadership profile were leadership, communication, instruction, and management. And so everything that's unfolded here through the survey, I think you'll find in your leadership profile. So in summary, your search is progressing well. We're on target as far as your approved timeline. And we'd encourage you to check your calendars again with those dates that we set and be sure that you have those clear. And then we just feel like that we are very much looking forward to coming back and being with you on April 15th. And so if you, that's it from us. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any if you have any at this point.
Thank you. We appreciate all the information. Dr. Blaskowitz, we certainly appreciate all the efforts. It's once again a great experience, as it was the last time you were here. Do we have any questions or comments for BWP regarding the survey results? Again, I think we were asked earlier to hold off on the applicants' questions until April 15th. So I'll entertain any comments or questions you may have. Hearing none? That's a satisfied group of customers. Before
Great.
you go, I would like to point out to Ms. Wallace, if you would share with the teacher forum, once again, what the number one strength in the district. Let me hear you say it. What's our number one strength in the district? Our teachers. Our teachers and staff. Job well done.
Amen.
Again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. All right, now we'll move on to agenda item number 9. Tonight, we have 2 items for action. First up is Dr. Levine. She has the second reading of policies GAGA, staff conduct, JBD, school attendance, compulsory attendance ages and student absences, JCDB, student dress code, and KM, visitors to schools. Dr. Levine, the podium is yours.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Dr. Murray, Dr. Thompson, and other members of the board. At the March 10th school board meeting, the policies listed under item 9 of tonight's school board agenda were approved for first reading. At this time, it is the recommendation of the administration to approve the second and final reading for policies as listed under item 9 of the March 24th, 2015 board agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Levine. Do I have a motion and a second regarding the second reading of policies as listed in agenda item 9?
Yes, sir. I move that we accept the recommendation of the administration to approve the second and final reading for policies as listed under item 9 of the agenda tonight.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Moore. Mrs. Lee has made a motion to approve the second reading of agenda item 9. That motion was seconded by Mrs. Moore. Do we have any questions or comments regarding this motion?
I did have
Ms. Walford?
I did have someone contact me about ROTC uniforms that have gun on the patch or rifleman on the patch, and I feel like we exhausted that last week, but for that person who contacted us, I wanted to ask that question again, that those things will be decided on by the principal, from what I understand.
Thank you, Ms. Wofford, for bringing that up. And actually, those are actually school issued. So anything that the school would issue in form of what's appropriate for dress already has the stamp of approval from the administration.
Just beat that dead horse one more time.
Thank you for asking. No, I'd rather you ask, because I definitely understand that there would be some concerns about some things. And also just keep in mind that the principals, the administrators have at their discretion to say what's appropriate at their schools based on the policy as well.
Very good.
All right. Anybody else? All right, we'll call the question. A motion was made by Mrs. Lee, seconded by Ms. Moore, to approve agenda item number 9, to accept the recommendation of the administration to approve the second and final reading for policies, once again as listed under item 9 of the agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 6-0. Dr. Levine, the second reading of the policies have been approved. Thank you so much. Next up is Dr. O'Gorman. We have 2 items for information this evening. It's the strategic planning process and the Human Resources Report contract renewal update. Dr. O'Gorman.
I'm going to ask Ms. Snyder to come up and talk to you about something very exciting, near and dear to my heart, strategic planning process. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Snyder is going to talk to you about our district strategic planning process. Just want to, and you'll see this in a presentation, but this is not specific to instruction, it's for the entire district.
Good evening. I'll move this down. I feel kind of short this evening. Good evening, Board Chair, Dr. Murray, Dr. Thompson. I tried to slide that through there. I knew Mr. Franchini would say something. And members of the board. This evening, I would like to revisit our strategic planning process, something that we do continuously every year. The State Department of Education mandates that districts and schools participate in a strategic planning process. And something that we look at, we work on our district strategic plan, and the schools work on their school renewal plans as well. And then we have to upload our application and our plan into an online state application system with the State Department. These plans are due every April on the same day every year on April 30th. Once we've submitted our plans, the State Department, the Division of the Office of Accountability, looks through our plans and reviews them and then gives us feedback regarding our strategic plan. Let me share a little bit of our journey with the strategic plan and the school renewal plans. Districts and schools create 5-year plans for continuous school improvement. 5 years ago, we created this plan that I'm speaking of this evening, and now we are finally in year 5 of our strategic plan. I know the schools and myself were saying, yay, we're glad, so we can kind of make some major revisions as we move forward for the next few years. We have 6 district goals that fit nicely under our overarching goals of student achievement, school climate, and teacher administrator quality. The schools and districts have the option of having a district priority goal, and we have chosen that option for several years. Last year, we chose our district priority goal to be professional learning communities, and we're going to continue that option this year for our district priority. Our planning process is a collaborative and a continuous cycle of improvement, and I'll share a little bit more in-depth details regarding these steps on the next slide. This slide shows the specific components of our planning cycle. Our improvement process includes creating SMART goals, which are strategic, measurable, attainable, reliable, and very timely. We also put strategies and action steps together to support these goals that we've created and the focus areas that are a part of our plan. Something that we continuously do, we look over our action steps and our strategies to see what's working in our plan and what's not working, and then we make sure that we take note and we make adjustments along the way. Something that's very crucial is that we continuously gain feedback from all of our stakeholders and use that information to put into our plan. Something that we will be putting in place again is our District Improvement Council. Mr. Davis has formed that again, and we are meeting on April 16th to look at the process that we have in place and to share our district strategic plan. Within that group, Mr. Davis has invited one person from every school that is part of their School Improvement Council to be part of that team. So there we'll share information. After we gain the information regarding and the feedback regarding our plans, we'll make some final revisions to our plan. Again, these are our goals that we have in place for our district. For the next month during April, we will continually look and collaborate to make revisions in our plan. We'll continue to analyze our information to see what's working and what's not, and we'll reflect and share our results with lots of different stakeholders, including yourselves, the schools, and other community members. One thing that's important is that we work closely with the schools as we develop our strategic plan and as they put their school renewal plans together as well. The schools, their plans pretty much mirror our planning process with their school renewal plans. The school renewal plan is the foundation for all the plans that the schools have to put together. For example, the foundation of their school renewal plan should help them if they are a Title I school and as they put their Title I plan together. And the good news is that we've created and we're working on our school renewal plan. And as we go through the advanced ed process for next year, we will be able to utilize the plan that we have in place in that process as well. We work with the schools, we go out to the schools, we work with them during principal breakout sessions, and we provide workshops as well to help them and assist them with their school renewal planning as well. We also try to give them reflective feedback regarding their plans. So during the week of April 14th through the 25th, we'll be looking at the school renewal plans and then going through them as a team at the district and share feedback with them regarding their plans. And then they'll be submitting their plans to us at the end of April. And today we had a workshop, so here are some pictures of some of our administrators working real hard on their school renewal plans at Menrib this afternoon. Are there any questions regarding our strategic planning process?
All right, do we have any questions for Ms. Snyder regarding the strategic planning process? We're in year 5 of a 5-year plan, if I recall. All right, Ms. Snyder, you were very thorough. You have no questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Jerome Davis. Mr. Davis will be giving us a human resources report, specifically contract renewal update. Mr. Davis, welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, ladies and gentlemen of the school board. Tonight, I want to give you some information about contract renewals and updates, because in a few moments, we'll be re-electing our certified staff, and I needed to give you some background information to help you base your decisions. So that's the purpose of my presentation tonight. All right. How this come about is that we have regulations and guidelines which govern how we make our decisions. So Section 5925.410, it sets the date for contract issuance to April the 15th. And what that section reads is that on or before April the 15th, we must notify our certified and professional staff about their employment status for the following year. And if that criteria is not met, what we have to do is understood that our employees will be employed for the following year. In addition to that, Section 5926-30 establishes the regulations for teachers and their contracts. And how we govern this matter is that we use the adept regulations to govern the processes as well as the contract advancement, as you'll see later during the presentation. So when we're looking at our contracts, if you look along the slide, and I'll kind of point to these, is that we have there's 3 contract levels in our district when you think about the process. I don't know if this will reach. I'll try. If not, 3 contract levels. You have your induction, you have your annual, and your continuing contracts. And when we're looking at our decisions, the regulation reads that an induction contract teacher can have up to 3 years on that particular contract. And the way that it is designed in our district, if you look at this, the first year induction contract is assigned to our first year teachers who are new to the profession. They just graduated from college, and they're entering the profession. And during that year, we'll provide what you call assistance and support to help them enter the profession, and so that they're successful throughout their teaching career. So at the end of that year, there's a couple of options for those. At the end of that first year, there's a couple of options that we can actually that are determined based off of feedback, observations, planning, their instruction. So at the very end, after the teacher has completed all of those different steps, they can either meet their evaluation criteria and be moved to an annual contract, and the next year they'll go through a formal evaluation process. If they're not successful at the end of that year, the teacher is judged as not met, and we have the option to give them an induction 2, or they can be terminated at the very end, okay? All right, the next step, typically when a teacher has met the requirements, and the majority of our teachers do after the first year, we move them to an annual contract. And during the annual contract status, they go through what you call formal evaluation. I'll explain those steps further as we move along during the presentation. So if they, at the end of that year, after they go through formal evaluation and they meet the standards, then they could be moved to an annual 2, and that status will be goals-based evaluation. All right? And it continues on throughout the life of, if they remain on an annual contract, they can move to an annual 2, annual 3, and annual 4. Not met, what the regulation reads is that if a teacher is not met on the formal evaluation for the first time, we have an option to move them to what you call a diagnostic assistance. And during the diagnostic assistance year, we provide additional support and to the teacher to help prepare them for another year of formal evaluation. And hopefully, with that support and assistance, they'll be successful at the very end. The very last one is what you call a continuing contract teacher. The continuing contract teacher has full procedural rights, and usually a continuing contract teacher is on what you call a continuing summative GBE, where actually we offer professional development. They take professional development courses to continue improving their craft as a teacher. The things you need to remember about an induction contract teacher are that the employment dismissal procedures, the employment and dismissal provisions of Article 3, it does not apply to these contract teachers. They have limited, really no due process rights at all. Annual contract teachers, during the annual contract period, the employment dismissal procedures do not apply to, I'm gonna go back. Do not apply to them as well. However, they have a right to a hearing. They can request a hearing with our superintendent. And continuing contract teachers, when you're thinking about making your decision about re-electing them, they have full procedural due process rights. Okay.
Mr. Davis, and forgive me for interrupting, on that previous slide, what's the minimum number of years it would require a teacher who were successful at each stage to get to the continuing contract status? Minimum number of years.
It can take up to 7 years if we provide so.
That's maximum.
That's maximum, but the minimum number of years, 3.
3, okay, so it has not changed.
Okay, 3. All right, sorry I didn't understand your question. Okay. Maximum is 7, so they can have up to 7 years. Sorry. All right. When you're looking at the ADEPT continuum, when you think about this process, I want you all to look at the very center. Formal evaluation is only one component of the ADEPT continuum. I want you to understand it's only one component of it. Remember, we talked about providing assistance and support to our teachers as they move throughout the profession. So high quality professional development must be available to every teacher so that they're successful. The research shows, and when you think about the research from Lipton, McCrell, and Danielson, states that comprehensive systems of evaluation must provide professional growth so that teachers can, one, master content, so they can refine their teaching skills, and they can critically analyze their own performance and their students' performance as well. So as you look at our continuum, you see the arrow at the very bottom. Throughout our system, it's very robust. We're constantly providing assistance and support throughout this evaluation process. The purpose of the evaluation, when you look at the overall purpose of evaluation, remember I said it's only one component of the evaluation piece. The core purpose of evaluation, and I know you see those things where you say determining individual strengths and weaknesses, finding the right seat, helping the teachers find the right seat on the bus and taking those off when they're not in the right seat, as well as facilitating their professional growth. The overarching theme of evaluation and the core purpose of evaluation is teacher assessment and evaluation. It's to strengthen a teacher's skills in that classroom, his or her knowledge, their dispositions, their classroom practices as professional educators. We want our teachers to be the best, and we've always, as demonstrated tonight, we do have some of the best educators in our system, and we constantly work hard at helping our teachers develop their professional skills. So when you look at the components of evaluation, there are 4 components of evaluation. You have your planning, you have your instruction, classroom environment, and professionalism. What's in the center here? At the very core of our evaluation process, it focuses on student achievement. Student achievement. We have great teachers in our classrooms, and when you think about our school, our district report card, it was excellent, excellent. And a lot of that hard work, most of the hard work was done by our teachers in the classroom, and we need to commend all of our teachers for the great work they're doing. So Lipton, McCrell, and Danielson, the researchers, advocates the development of robust evaluation systems where teaching and learning are at the forefront, and it's also aligned to this to teacher assessment with the ultimate goal of improving student achievement. And when you look at our current system of evaluation, it does that. So let's talk about the contract levels. If you can think back to the slide, there were 3 contract levels: induction, annual, as well as continuing. Our induction contracts are given to teachers with less than 1 year of teaching experience. These are the teachers who are brand new to the profession. Sometimes they're straight out of college. They can enter the profession by way of PACE. Our ABC teachers, there's various routes we can have when an induction contract teacher enter our system. Our districts may employ beginning teachers on our induction contract for up to 3 years. We talked about that earlier. And it's a non-renewable agreement with no hearing rights. Again, the employment and dismissal provisions, they don't apply. And so when you look at our system, currently we have 165 teachers that we're supporting on an induction contract. 159 are involved in the induction program, PRIDE, and 6 are involved in the Induction 2 program. So looking at that continuum that I showed at the front, this is how that looks on it for an induction contract teacher, and this is how we're administering that process in our district. So looking at this, remember we said it's very robust. We providing us support and assistance. So from the month of August up until this point, when you look at all of the support that we provided in August, there are five PRIDE orientations. And I'm not going to read all of these to you, but this is the work of our full release mentor teachers as well as our evaluators that are in our office. Lots of support to get them through the evaluation piece. Again, at the end of the induction year, our teachers can either be rehired on an annual contract and they go through formal evaluation the second year. Typically, if they're not successful, they can be rehired under the current plan on an Induction 2 contract with an Induction 2 plan, and they're not rehired. And we still provide that same, and at the end of their year, if they're not successful again, typically they're not rehired in our school district. 2 years of support. Okay? Annual contract teachers. Again, usually given to teachers in their second year. It's also, annual contracts are also given to teachers who are hired from out of state, and that's in accordance with the regulation that we have from the state regulation, the debt regulation. Private school, teachers that enter the profession from a private school, these teachers have taught before. However, coming into the system, we can just place them on a continuing contract, so they're usually given an annual contract as well. Teachers can have, on an annual contract, they can have up to 4, and they have very limited due process rights, and that's a hearing before the superintendent. And currently, we have 472 teachers on an annual contract. Still providing assistance and support. So here's what our 3 options are at the very end of an annual contract year. If and when a teacher goes through a formal evaluation, he or she is not successful, the state regulation allows us to give them 1 year of diagnostic assistance, and we can only give that 1 year of diagnostic assistance one time throughout the lifetime of a teacher's contract. So in looking at this, the diagnostic assistance, it's similar to what we do for an induction teacher. We provide formative assessment, we provide support, we give feedback to help them improve their teaching skills so that they'll be ready to go through formal evaluation again. And currently we have 16 teachers receiving support on diagnostic assistance plans. And I just want to take this time to thank you, school board. Last year you approved 2 full release mentor teachers for us to actually help with this process. And we've been able to provide more support in this particular area with those full release mentor teachers. So again, thank you for that. And our teachers out in the field are really appreciative of of the work that they're doing. Formal evaluation. So once again, they go through formal evaluation. It's comprehensive evaluation based on all the adept standards. It's a team-based process. There's 3 people on that team when they're going through formal evaluation. Annual contract teachers, they have to pass this evaluation to gain continuing contract status. You cannot move from an annual contract to continuing unless you demonstrate proficiency on your formal evaluation. So currently we have 221 formal evaluations this year. So the evaluators, thank you, Ms. Tabor, and our staff, they're working really hard. Ms. Tabor, actually, she's the coordinator of that process. If you stand, I appreciate it. And recognize Ms. Tabor. She works really hard. Very. They do like 3-man teams. All right. Goals-based evaluation. A teacher can only move to goals-based evaluation after they've demonstrated proficiency on formal evaluation. So you have to pass your formal evaluation to move to goals-based. And 257 annual contract teachers honor GBE right now, okay? Honor GBE, okay? So keep going. So at the end of the annual year, this is what happens. Success is determined by the evaluation team, which usually consists of 3 people. The principals make contract recommendations based off of, and makes a contract recommendation. Usually that's based off of the results of the evaluation in a series of other things. If the teacher is successful, he or she can be rehired. And again, you can have up to 4 years on an annual contract. Continuing contract is a little different. If you look at the very bottom, this is where the majority of our teachers are. Currently, we have 1,480 teachers on a continuing contract. So the majority of our teaching staff is right here. In order to be in a continuing contract, you got to first pass formal evaluation. You need to have a professional teaching certificate. You will have had to meet all of the requirements that are required by the State Department of Education in order to move to a continuing contract status. Continuing contract teachers have full due process rights. They have full procedural rights. So, here's the support that we provide to annual and continuing contract teachers. This is what we've done thus far in addition to what's being provided to our induction teachers. So from the month of September up until now, you have one-on-one consultations. Again, the work of our teacher evaluators as well as our full release mentor teachers. We have really utilized those people that we were able to hire. We would like more, but to increase the support that we give. So one-on-one consultations, they conduct observations, they review planning documents and things that teachers have to turn in to get ready for formal evaluations or prepare themselves for formal evaluations. So lots of support provided by the evaluation team as well as our full release mentor teachers. Again, so first semester, 22 PD sessions. And our professional development sessions range anywhere from planning, anywhere from classroom management strategies. We work in collaboration with instruction and accountability to provide strategies to deliver the core curriculum, as well as to help with assessments and the like. There's also classroom management sessions that are also offered, and we also offer self-help sessions. Sometimes we're just there to be a listening ear to help those teachers who are having difficult times through their first year, as well as teachers that are already in the profession. So again, second semester, 20 PD sessions. We really want teachers to be successful in our district, so this is why we do what we do in our office. Letters of agreement. You have your grant agreement. It's given to employees whose positions are funded through a grant that may or may not be renewed annually because it's based off of that grant. And then we have our retirees and letters of agreements as well. I'd like to end this presentation with this quote, right? The purpose of our evaluation system, and I want to iterate this, it's not a gotcha. It's not punitive. It's not a gotcha. We really support our teachers, and we really want them to be successful. And when we have to let someone off the bus, it's very rare, and we've done due diligence to try to save that teacher. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Davis. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Davis regarding the Human Resources Report, specifically contract renewal update? Ms. Lee.
Yes, sir. When a teacher comes to us from another county in South Carolina, do they come with that same type of contract? Do we maintain that same type of contract?
Our board policy gives us, typically if they're on a continuing contract, they're going to remain on a continuing contract. We can't move them back from a continuing contract. If they come on a continuing contract, then the state regulation requires us to keep them on a continuing contract. So does that answer your question?
It does, yes. And is that the same thing, like if one of our teachers chooses to go from Berkeley to Greenville County or someplace else, do they get to maintain that? Is that statewide, or is that just?
It's statewide.
Okay.
The only, go ahead.
You answer, Mr. Davis. I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Yeah. The only time there's a chance, let's just say a teacher moves into our district from out of state, what the regulation reads is that if a teacher's out of state, they can be on a continuing contract out of state. However, our state regs allow us to move them back to an annual contract because we have to formally evaluate them to make sure they're successful teachers. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
As long as they go through an evaluation that's similar to ours or
right.
state-approved evaluation, we can transfer that contract.
Absolutely.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing, yes, Dr. Thompson.
I'd just like to make a comment. We recognize Margaret Tabor's an outstanding job of our teacher evaluators. I think we have 8 or 9 teacher evaluators, and that is a luxury that our district has. Not all districts have those teacher evaluators, but as 70% of our survey, as indicated earlier, excellent staff, and this board has made a commitment that supporting the teachers is important. But there is an expense to that with 8 or 9 evaluators, and our 8 or 9 evaluators with those 220 formal evaluations, I think they have a caseload of about 30 each, right, Margaret? And that allows us to have a 3-person team in most cases, and it takes a lot of pressure off of the principals because we have 221 formal evaluations. We have 41 schools, so if you do the math, we have schools that could have anywhere from 8 to 15 formal evaluations that the teacher or the principal is responsible for that evaluation. So we're appreciative of the support that we get from those district evaluators, but it does come at a cost. As our surveys show, it is important.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. We appreciate you. Up next, agenda item number 10, the Division of Administration and Facilities. Up first is Dr. O'Gorman. Dr. O'Gorman has an item for action tonight, agenda item 10A, which is the second reading of the 2015-2016 instructional calendar. Dr. O'Gorman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Thompson, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Jackson. You should have 2 calendars available in your packet. One is a draft of the 2016-17 instructional calendar. If you could just put that aside. That is there just for your information. We are only here to discuss the 15-16 calendar. Dr. Murray, as you said, this has made it through the first meeting, and I'm simply bringing this to you for the second reading tonight. It's the recommendation to approve the instructional calendar for the 2015-16 school year as presented.
Thank you, Dr. O'Gorman. We've heard the administration's recommendation regarding agenda item 10A. Do I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to approve the second and final reading of the 2015-2016 instructional calendar as presented in agenda item 10A.
Thank you, Mr. McQuillan. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. I'll yield to Mr. Hayes. Mr. McQuillan has made a motion. That motion has been seconded by Mr. Hayes. For the record, the motion has been made to accept the administration's recommendation to approve the second and final reading of the 2015-2016 instructional calendar as presented in agenda item 10A. Do we have any discussion regarding this motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion made by Mr. McQuillan, seconded by Mr. Hayes, to accept the administration's recommendation, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The second reading has been unanimously approved, Dr. O'Gorman. We have an instructional calendar. Thank you, sir. Up next is agenda item 10B, Dr. McLaren. It's entitled Summer Programs. Dr. McLaren, the podium is yours. Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, members of the board. In the blink of an eye, we're going to be on June 4th, 5th, and 6th celebrating graduations. And shortly after that, we hope to be starting our summer programs for Berkeley County School District. You have a handout in your packet covering this. I am not going to begin to read all of that handout. We're going to give time for report cards to get home, and registration for summer programs this year will be on June 10th and 11th. For middle school, they will run June 15th through the 21st of July. The cost is not changing from last year, and the process and program is not changing from last year. The cost per course, depending upon the level of enrichment that the child needs, will range anywhere from $75 to $150. For high schools, registration will also be on June 10th and 11th. The first session will run June 15th through July 14th. 80% of our students will finish during that time. Those who need a second credit recovery course or who are trying to complete a initial credit course through South Carolina Virtual School with district support will run all the way through August 4th. The cost for credit recovery again this year will be $175, and initial credit is $325 if they do it through the APEX program. What we are recommending is that the board approve the administration's recommendation for the 2015 summer programs as presented.
Thank you, Dr. McLaren. You've all heard the administration's recommendation regarding summer programs. Do I have a motion regarding this recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve the administration's recommendation for the 2014 summer school programs as presented in agenda item 10.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. McQuillan. Mr. Hayes has made a motion to approve the administration's recommendation for the 2015 summer programs as presented. Did I get the year right, Dr. Thompson?
Yes.
All right. And that motion was seconded by Mr. McQuillan. Do we have any discussion regarding this motion? All right. Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the administration's recommendation for the 2015 summer programs as presented, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously, Dr. McLaren. We're having summer school this summer. Thank you so much. Next up is agenda item 11, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Just a handful of items tonight. First of all, last week we announced that Standard & Poor raised our rating from an AA- to an AA. Some of you may not understand what an AA means, but just in short summary, this rating potentially will have a major impact on our taxpayers, as a better rating attracts more investors, which will lead to better rates on our long-term debt. Mr. Thomas is currently away meeting with potential investors on a refunding that will take place in a couple of days, but I would like to congratulate our board. Over the last year, we established a reserve fund policy that contributed to our increased rating from Standards & Poor. So congratulations to our board for being part of that rating. Just a couple of announcements. Tomorrow is March 25th. We will have a tornado crisis simulation at Cane Hoy Elementary Middle. Thursday. These glasses weren't working earlier. Thursday, and that's rescheduled. And just like to thank all of our emergency management officials for taking part in this as we work to keep our environment safe. We do crisis simulations throughout the year to prepare our students and our administrators, our parents, and our law enforcement emergency management officials that take part. And that as well, that is Thursday. What's the time, Dr. McLaren? Okay, so if you hear some sirens in the area, it is a drill at the school, Cane Hoy Elementary Middle. Then a couple of other dates, try to get these right. Thursday, April the 9th, we have our Turnaround Achievement Awards. That will be at Westview Middle at 12 o'clock. And I'll say to our board members, if you've never attended this Turnaround Achievement Award for our students, I encourage you to attend as we recognize some of our remarkable, life-changing experiences of some of our students. That's Thursday, April 9th at Westview Middle, 12 p.m. Lunch will be served. And then finally on Friday, April the 10th, our Teacher of the Year ceremony will be at Trident Tech. The program is organized by the Berkeley Chamber. It begins with breakfast at 7:30. And please join us as we announce our Berkeley County Teacher of the Year.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. We'll now entertain a motion and a second to move into executive session. Prior to requesting that motion, will state the reasons for executive session tonight. The board will hear student attendance appeals, student expulsion appeals, personnel considerations, specifically the re-election and non-renewal of certified staff, as well as contractual matters and a legal briefing. Do I have a motion and a second to move into executive session?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. I was beginning to get a little tired myself, colleagues. All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Ms. Lee has made a motion. Mr. Hayes has seconded that motion. All those in favor of moving into executive session, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. We stand in executive session.